Okay, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 2 of the Arcade Club livecast. I'm Ben, I'm joined once again by Dan.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 2, and boy oh boy have we got some games to talk about today.
Lots of games.
So many games. We've got new games in the arcade, we've got new games that we've both been playing. There's a lot of games that we have to talk about.
So let's cut the chatter, let's cut straight into it. So Dan, what have you been playing this week?
What have I been playing this week? Well, of course, as most people that I've been waiting.
I think we both could share this.
Yeah.
I think we can both share this. What we're going to talk about.
I think everyone's been playing the Resident Evil 2 demo this week. And excitingly, we are going to play it live at some point during this podcast.
Yeah, so
Ben's going to be in the hot seat. You
you
played it more than me.
Yes,
so
I've also got a whole bunch of trivia, almost like a little questionnaire lined up for you, so you better keep on your toes for that as well.
All right, I'm ready.
Yeah.
My Resident Evil knowledge.
The Resident Evil 2 demo is going to be, hopefully I won't miss anything.
Before we launch into it, what are your impressions of the demo?
Well, of course, I'm a big fan of the original PlayStation 1 trilogy, so of course there's a lot of expectation to try and see whether the camera angle changes and of course the graphical update and the sort of layout of the Raccoon City Police Department, whether it can be justified, I would say, whether it's good enough to warrant this release, which, just from this demo, because I was pretty giddy just from the demo as well. Now, there are obviously issues with the demo, and I'll talk about that a little bit as well, but I'll stick on the good points for now. It really made me excited about how they've restructured the game because of the fact that it is now the camera is focused behind you, and certain shots that were originally composed because of the fixed camera angle is no longer available, so it plays to your expectations, stuff that we've been talking about, you know, for coming up quite some time, but it is probably the thing that I'll give it the most credit for, actually. I genuinely think it is the goriest game, technically, on a technical standpoint. Like, the things that you're doing, per se, aren't necessarily violent or gory, but, like, the amount of detail, like, they have textures rendered underneath, like, the limbs and stuff like that.
It's a squishy game.
Yeah, very squishy. And if you are a bit squeamish,
yeah, we got a couple of games that we're going to show you today, and
very squeamish.
There's a little violence, there's a little gore, and if you're of a more squeamish disposition, maybe, you know, just expect to push that envelope a little, is what I would say. Now, last week you said that you loved the original remake of Resident Evil 1. Yes,
the GameCube remake, yeah, because that managed to... It still kept the core, like, gameplay premise of the original camera angles.
It was faithful.
Yep. But it managed to implement a lot more modern... Well, I say modern, it did come out in, like, what, 2006 or something like that?
It's got some age on its side now.
Yeah, but what it did at the time, it brought a much more aggressive Resident Evil formula to it with things such as Crimson Heads and... and of course, it's updated design. Of course, I talked about last week about how that still makes it... I still feel like the game is very scary.
Yes.
The original GameCube remaster of Resident Evil. I hope Resident Evil 2 can do the same. There were certainly moments that were very sort of like quick cut, like pretty much jump scare sort of tactics. Yeah. That, to me, is not really horror, in my opinion. I don't feel like it feels very cheap, very easy to make it a little bit artificial. I hope there's sort of like that original Resi factor where, you know,
foreboding sense of dread.
Yeah, and sort of like, oh my lord, I'm running out. I haven't got enough medicine to make it over across here.
But I know there's some guys through here.
Yeah, I have to go through this segment. It's sort of like that, which is all internalized in your mind, which affects how you perform and how you play and stuff like that. That's what I'm sort of looking for. But how did you find it, man? I mean, I rinsed it, and I'm going to be blabbering on all day when we're actually playing it. But so I might as well let you have your bit now before I just steal this podcast and be like, "This is mine. I'm taking it home. It belongs to me now."
It's all right. You know. Initial feedback, very good. I thought it was great. I think it's loyal to the original whilst breaking new ground in and of itself. Like you said, those camera angles that really set the tone for the game are gone, but it doesn't feel like it's been replaced by something inferior. It feels like it still has tension, but it's creating it in different ways. And because of that, it feels like it's going to be an effective game from a scares point of view. And like you said, it's a very visceral game.
Yeah.
You can see that thought has gone into the way that zombies get hit.
Visual design, sound design. Oh,
Exactly.
the sound design is like one of the strongest aspects of this game. Actually.
It's fantastic.
It's awesome.
I really, as I say, it's only half an hour long. I know you've found a way to bypass that particular.
We don't.
yeah, keep on DL, guys. But you know, the time that I spent with it, enjoyed every minute, and like you said, it's really whet my appetite. I'm excited. I was already excited. I'm more excited now, and I just really can't wait for the game to release at the end of the month.
We'll talk a little bit more about it later, since of course we're obviously going to be playing it quite a fair decent amount in a bit. So what else have you been playing?
So the other game that I played this week is Vane. Which, you know, people have been aware of this game for a couple of years. There's been footage going around for a while. And it's an interesting game, you know.
It's a Japanese developed game, right? A Japanese indie game.
They had some periods during its development, they had some of the Team Ico guys working there. They didn't stay through to fruition, and I think that shows slightly in the end product of the game. But it's an interesting one.
We actually have a trailer lined up for you guys, so
up.
let's actually pop it on for you guys so you can actually have a look.
I mean, as you can see now, the visuals themselves are on point. It's starkly beautiful. And
this is in engine, right? This is actually what's being rendered. Yeah, that's obviously in engine being rendered.
Yeah.
So,
and it looks, I mean, if you were to look at that, you would go, oh, that's very Team Ico. Because that's clearly the jump-off point that they've used for this game. You know, you're a child that has this ability to morph into a crow, and you're basically puzzle platforming your way through this desolate landscape, trying to figure out why you're there and what your purpose is. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect game. Although its jump-off point is the, you know, games like Ico, like The Last Guardian, it never really scales those heights. It's a good-ish game, but it's never a great game. It feels to me...
The concepts aren't like fully, like...
It's not fully realised. It's a short game as well. It's incredibly short, you know. Even if you're frustrated by it like I was in many sections, it shouldn't take you more than 4 or 5 hours. But it just feels a little bit like a missed opportunity. Again, I don't think it's a bad game. I just don't think it's a particularly great game. You know, if you were going to give it some kind of rudimentary number out of 10, you're looking at the 5 to 7s, depending on how well you get on with it. I wanted to come on tonight and say how much I loved it, how it nailed the atmosphere that one would expect, again, to harp on about Team Ico, those kind of games. But it kind of feels like a shade of those games. It feels like, yes, the influences are on point. It just feels like they've maybe not had the wherewithal to really push through on the concept and create something truly special. So, you know, a good effort, but ultimately I found it just to be a little bit lacking. But certainly an interesting game, and there are worse ways to spend 4 hours. So that's Vane.
Yeah.
How about yourself, my friend? What have you been playing?
Oh, what have I been playing? Well, the big one, of course, I'm pretty much on a sort of train at the moment. Of course, I've been playing the original Resident Evil.
What are the stops? Talk to me. The Capcom train.
The Capcom train, choo-choo. Of course, I've been playing the same games that I were last week. You know, a lot of Devil May Cry, a lot of Warframe. And of course, I've been recently going back through the Resident Evil Gamecube Remaster on PC.
Sure.
But just this week, that came out this week, was the Onimusha Warlords re-release.
Of course. Which, in and of itself, as we mentioned last week, very, very Resident Evil in tone.
Very Resident Evil. Very sort of Resi formula on it. And, of course, I've just got another trailer lined up here for you.
Pull it up. Let's have a look.
But the first thing that you will notice straight away is, like, there's nothing really crazy about what they've done to the game. It is still very much its original release. I mean, when we actually see gameplay, it just looks like a PlayStation 2 game.
It's not been remade from the ground up.
No. Which, to be honest, I don't think it needs to be. Not every game needs to be, you know, what Resi 2 is going to be. And to be honest, I wouldn't want that. In my ideal world, I'd still like to be able to have the original game be playable in some way or another, to be able to compare the two. Because, like, Resi 2 on the PlayStation 1 and Resi 2 that we're getting in just over a week's time are two completely different games.
I think you'd be frightened by how different they are if you were to play them one after the other.
Yeah. But not having the ability to actually play it's how it was originally created is, you know, I think quite sad. But with Onimusha, it is very much its original sort of format. There's a couple of things that they added, like the 16:9 aspect ratio, which I didn't have on. I feel very much that, like, because I've seen a lot of remastered, like, trilogies or remakes or whatever, that when you see them in 16:9, the camera angle kind of, like, you see things that you're not really supposed to. So I always have it in its intended format, depending on what year it was released. The other thing that they did as well is that they've added the left analog stick to use as a free movement.
Okay.
So originally you didn't use the left analog stick, it was just purely the D-pad, because of course it was tank control movement. They've added in the left analog stick for free movement. I've not used that either. Even though, of course, in combat, since it is a lot of combat, it does help with, like, moving around the enemy. You can run around in a circle very easily. But it's not how I feel like the game was initially designed for. It feels like it's like the whole struggle with the combat is the fact that you are supposed to be, like, very sluggish, very slow, methodical, controlled movement with the use of the D-pad, so I want to try and ensure that I keep to that sort of level. I'm in the final sort of stretch now. I've pretty much uncovered, I've done all of, like, the original, like, the keep and all stuff like that. I've done all the gardens and stuff like that, so I've just opened the Demon Gate, so I'm in the last leg now, so I'm not far off from finishing.
So now you're in the final stretch. I mean, how would you describe it? Is it interesting curio from the past, or is it a game that you could wholeheartedly recommend for a new generation of gamer?
Oh, well, it really depends on sort of like your disposition to them sort of style of games. Like, there are people who genuinely just can't do tank controls, which I feel is a shame. If I was to go and say, recommend a tank control game for people to play and actually use, I wouldn't recommend Onimusha to be the first.
Okay.
Like, of course, obviously the first one that I would go to would be the Resident Evil Gamecube Remaster. I genuinely think that that did an amazing job, like, still keeping the premise of the series, as I just talked about a second ago. Onimusha is really sort of there for people who are interested in that genre or interested in that particular part of history of Capcom's history. Like, I love Capcom around that era, around the PlayStation 2 era, because they made, like, my favorite games. Like, they made the Devil May Cry series, they made Beautiful Joe, God Hand, Onimusha.
They had a good run. They had a good run.
Okami, like all the Cloverworks stuff and a lot of other internal Capcom stuff there as well, like some of my favorite games. So that particular part of Capcom's history I'm very nostalgic about. So,
but are you wearing the nostalgic goggles? That's why I want to know. What's interesting is, so this week you played the Resident Evil 2 demo, which is, you know, a total rethink of the way those games are played. You played the Resident Evil Remaster, which in and of itself retains those tank controls that you mentioned, but presents them in a new way. And you've also played Onimusha,
which is probably the oldest style of the
exactly.
Of the
so, like, having played the three together,
the games aren't flawless by any means. There are still, like, I'm probably going to talk a little bit about my issues with the Resi 2 demo once we get into it. But Onimusha obviously does have a bit of a pacing problem, and it does feel quite streamlined. It doesn't feel as nuanced as, like, all the other areas that you would get to explore in, like, the original Resident Evil trilogy. And because of the fact that it is a Bushido era style game, you're not using guns, so you don't have, like, the ammo system or anything like that. I mean, you do have, like, arrows and you get, like, a flintlock and stuff like that, but that's about halfway through and later on, and those are pretty much sort of more like the mag revolver in the Resident Evil series. It's sort of more like, do I not... Because, of course, since you're using swords, the whole process becomes, okay, I have to get close to this enemy in order to be able to do anything. And, of course, to some aspect, with the original Resident Evil, you had to do that as well. But there is very much a sort of, almost like Dark Souls-esque sort of approach to it, where you're sort of having to dance around the opponent. The bow and arrow and the flintlock basically are like the mag in the sense that it's like, I don't want to deal with this. I just don't want to. But you still haven't got, like, the ammo system where you've got to think, like, I've only got this much. The closest thing they have to that is the magic subsystem, which is very easy to replenish. It's very easy to cheese and gimmick a lot of the enemy AIs and that kind of stuff. But like I said, if you're interested in that particular part of history, it's not a long game. Of course, it's a Resi-style game, so once you understand what's happening in the game, you have a better knowledge of it, you can beat that game in less than 3 hours.
Oh, well,
if you're good enough at it, yeah. But that's where the repetition and the skill comes in, because Onimusha, again, just like Resident Evil, has that repetition factor. It has that mastery to it, where you're sort of streamlining the experience, and you're also putting artificial difficulty upon yourself. Like there's an achievement for not using any health items or upgrading any of your weapons in that game. So that sort of artificial difficulty, if you're interested in that stuff, it really makes it a very worthwhile bit of time to invest into, even for a game that came out in, what, 2002, 2003.
It's an old game. But I think that's what really interests me is who are these games being made for? Are they for gaming historians like yourself? They're not going to win any new fans with these kinds of games, right?
Nostalgia goggles, yeah. I think that's a shame, like, because I do think it will obviously be very difficult. It's not intended to be easy by any stretch, but I feel like a lot of people could learn a lot in terms of game design from looking at a lot of the older stuff. Like Resident Evil 2 manages to pretty well translate it, but of course we've had like Resi 4, Resi 5, Resi 6 to get all the way up to this.
There's a clear evolution, and I feel like Resident Evil 2 now has got the greatest base to go forward with this kind of new approach.
Capcom's year is going to be pretty terrifying, if you ask me, in terms of, because they've just had Onimusha, they've got Resi, they've got Devil May Cry, they've got the Monster Hunter World expansion.
They can hit out of the park in
pretty much
the first 3 months of the year.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that's exciting.
Yeah, but other than that, the only other game that I've been playing this week is stuff that I mentioned before, a lot of the same stuff. But I've also been playing, did I talk about it last week? I've been playing a game called Crosscode.
No, I don't think so.
No, Crosscode, I'll be dead quick about it. Crosscode is...
Take your time, dude. Take your time.
Oh, well, we've got a lot of stuff to get into and talk about, so like I said, it's super easy and brief. Crosscode is a Super Nintendo-inspired RPG.
I'm in.
But it's an action RPG, so it's not like the traditional sort of turn-based style games that you'd see with like Final Fantasy VI, or even sort of like the more laid-out battle mechanics like you'd see in games like Chrono Trigger. This is very action-orientated. So basically, once you engage with an enemy, your shoulder buttons are for either a melee attack, or if you're tilting the right analog stick, almost like a twin-stick shooter sort of wheel, you can also shoot projectiles as well. And then you have like parries, you have dodges, and you have like you can enhance your attacks with elements and stuff like that. And
that sounds cool.
That has the sort of RPG mechanics of resistances, you know,
can we get
understanding the enemies and
stuff. Any footage available?
I haven't actually got some ready, but I can grab some
up
quick.
This sounds cool. I think it demands a little bit of footage, because while you're describing it so damn well, it would be nice to see...
to actually have a bit of visual going on with
it. And how did you happen upon this particular
Well, I've been looking at this game. This game's been in early access for quite a long time. I've been very eagerly anticipating its full release. I didn't get it straight away upon release because I just have so many games to play, man. You know,
so many games. So is this a 2019 release, or is this last year?
No, this was last year.
Okay.
I would have honestly put this in my Game of the Year's list if not for the fact that
you didn't play it.
I didn't play it. But it's really cool. So yeah, straight from the bat, you can obviously tell it's Super Nintendo aesthetic. So you sort of see the cursor in the middle. You can either aim to like use projectile, or you can just purely use melee. Really cool artwork. Like I said, Super Nintendo inspired to the nth degree. It's quite a accessible game. It's quite easy to trot through. The level grind isn't like crazy, but the cool part about it as well which I really didn't expect to, is actually its plot.
Okay.
So basically, it's there's a sort of genre terminology thing in like a lot of Japanese media culture called isekai, which is just in another world.
Yeah.
But basically, the plot is that you play as a girl with a sort of like amnesia, who's playing Crosscode, which is actually a VR MMO game.
Oh, right, I see what you're saying.
So, of course, whilst you're going around all these different areas, you come across all these players and you see them doing their own little adventures and stuff like that. But, of course, you're playing through the game in hopes to try and regain your memory. And, of course, as you disconnect from the game, you have, like, these weird sort of dreams and images and stuff like that. But, yeah, it had me a lot more interested than what I thought a Super Nintendo-inspired RPG plot could possibly think up.
It looks really cool, and like you said, I think as a lot of people that kind of discovered the RPG genre for the Super Nintendo, those were the first games that kind of emphasized plot.
But but the OST as well for it is fantastic. I've been, again, just like a Super Nintendo game, it does have that sort of very infectious sort of chiptune music that just drills into your brain. It may not possibly be the best, but it'll get stuck in your head for ages.
That sounds great.
Absolutely ages. But yeah, really cool game. Really enjoying that at the moment. So that's pretty much those, mainly for the most part.
I think that's pretty good for a week's worth of gaming.
Yeah, that's a week's worth of games. Yeah, a lot of stuff in anticipation, but also having a bit of time to enjoy something a little bit different.
You know,
because I do like Super Nintendo games a lot, and I love RPG games a lot, JRPGs especially, you know.
I think a lot of us are in that position where the back catalogue never shrinks.
It never
it's always
shrinks.
getting bigger, so it's nice sometimes to
and
jump
God forbid
back.
you enjoy other forms of media as well. Like, oh my days.
Exactly.
Right, shall we get into some news dead quick, or?
We can do some news.
We can do some news. There isn't...
What news do you want to...
There isn't too much to talk about.
It's been a slow
without
week
repeating
news-wise.
well, there is some
there's
pretty
been
big
big
things,
news.
yeah.
Slow but big.
Yeah.
Not that many stories, but big stories.
I mean, we could talk about Fallout 76 again, but I genuinely think people are tired of hearing it week in,
I
week
want to
out.
forget about Fallout 76. I think
I could.
Bethesda want to forget about Fallout 76.
Oh, no, they do not. I don't believe that for a second.
You don't think? Well,
I don't believe that for a second. Well, they are banning more and more people for more and more stupid stuff. So, dead quick, latest news.
Go on.
Did you know that you could access the developer room in Fallout 76 across all of their servers, which have all of their released and unreleased items for you to pick up?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So you could just pick up the items, leave the dev room, and just go nuts.
It's the train crash that keeps on crashing.
The people who collect the dev items have then been selling them.
Okay.
Bethesda have been issuing out bans, not to the people who've been buying them, but just to the people who have got in the room.
All right.
And the only way they're unbanning them is if they send them a letter telling them how they got in the dev room. Which is crazy.
Help us do our job.
I genuinely don't think there is any other company that has issued bans and actually had a system to reprieve them bans upon receiving a letter. I mean, it kind of seems a bit crazy to me. But yeah, Fallout 76 continuing to be the tire fire that we all thought it would be. Other bits of news. One piece of news that's happened pretty much only just over an hour ago, probably even less.
Hot off the press, what you got for us?
Hot off the press, of course, today is the Mortal Kombat 11 live gameplay reveal.
True,
There's
we've got
events
some really
across
great
the US.
celebrities down there.
Yeah, and we've also got an event that's happening down in London right now. I've got some inside people there that I've been talking to about. But we've got lined up the first official gameplay reveal trailer. And of course, just to reiterate, this is a Mortal Kombat trailer we're talking about. So there's going to be some quite gory and pretty disgusting stuff. So I've already seen it already because I needed to know, but this will be your first time.
This is a live reaction from myself. Let's
have
what we got.
a look, shall we? Okay, so Scorpion, pretty obvious, and Raiden. These were both announced in the initial E3 trailer. Baraka, straight off the bat.
Baraka's back.
So Baraka was, of course, one that was missing from Mortal Kombat 10. So, of course, now he's been added back in.
And he's getting his claws in deep. Oh, wow, that's pretty gory. I like it.
One of the things that I noticed straight away is the stage design and the use of lighting. The lighting effects look really good. I mean, like, I don't know how they're managing, like the fog effects as well. Really well.
I was going to say, given your extensive exposure to the fight community, having seen this and having seen how Mortal Kombat 10 played out amongst the fight community, do you see this game being a big game?
Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. Mortal Kombat pretty much is the next. When you talk about the big fighting games, the big ones that you obviously have in Street Fighter, and then you have Tekken. But when it comes to like the 2D fighting game community specifically, I genuinely think that the next one straight after Street Fighter, the next big competitor is Mortal Kombat. Like Mortal Kombat 10 was pretty big for the fighting game community.
How did it rank next to your Street Fighter 5? Your
Street
Tekken
Fighter 5.
7?
Well,
I know it came out before those games.
In terms of sales, Mortal Kombat X is definitely one of the biggest sellers. It was definitely a much bigger seller than Street Fighter 5, without a shadow of a doubt. In terms of actual community appeal and actual setups in terms of tournaments and stuff like that. It was hugely sponsored by ESL. Did have a big tour associated with it, if I'm not mistaken, and was pretty much people's first introduction to the Game Awards esports winner Sonic Fox. Like, so that was pretty much Sonic Fox's massive break into the esports scene. So Mortal Kombat X, I genuinely think, even though it's not around now, because the thing that people have talked about and people have actually complained about in the past, and Ed Boon has talked about this as well, is that NetherRealm games do have a very short cycle.
Okay.
Like, NetherRealm games tend to last for about 2 years. Because, of course, we had Mortal Kombat 9, then followed by Injustice, followed by Mortal Kombat 10,
followed by Injustice 2.
Followed by Injustice 2, and each one of those had a very short cycle with just a short amount, with a 1 or 2 seasons of DLC followed by...
Yeah.
And then, of course, the DLCs, of course, Mortal Kombat 10, and even Injustice 2 had some really decent DLC lined up. Like, the end, you look at the start period of Mortal Kombat X, and then look at the end of it, and you look at the roster.
Different game.
You had, like, Alien, you had, was it Leatherface? But yeah,
they got some interesting IPs attached to the brand.
Great, absolutely insane. And of course, I feel like that's the biggest draw with Mortal Kombat, is that it definitely manages to have the most interesting guest characters in its series. Of course, that's a thing that Tekken's trying to take a piece of the pie out of.
Well, again, as a Tekken purist, I'm not sure. How do you, again, you are much more of a fight community diehard than I am. How do you feel about these guest characters coming in from different forms of media? You know, does Leatherface belong in the Mortal Kombat universe? Does Akuma belong in a Tekken game?
Mortal Kombat, yes, because I feel like the way that Mortal Kombat introduced them originally really does fit its aesthetic.
Okay.
Injustice, I don't feel, did its guest characters as good as Mortal Kombat, but it still was pretty decent. Tekken is an interesting one, because Tekken has had a lot of game-related characters in there, but of course the latest one with Negan from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that seemed odd to me.
That one to me, I was just like, nah, I'm not about this.
Yeah.
To be honest, it feels like it was very sort of miscommunicated between like Harada, the team leader of the Tekken like division, and AMC. It really felt like AMC got the better deal.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't. At this point in time, there's people who love The Walking Dead and went absolutely mental about it. Like, it did.
But you wonder how many Walking Dead fans are Tekken fans.
Yeah, but I can't imagine many Tekken players who have never seen The Walking Dead being like, oh, like the previous one that they had, the big one that they first initially revealed at EVO when Tekken 7 came out, Geese Howard, was mental.
Okay.
If you're a fighting game enthusiast and you love fighting games, that was mental. Absolutely insane. I was here watching it on the projector, and me and a bunch of other guys just whoosh, our brains nearly exploded. Negan kind of was just like,
which is what you want. When you're doing guest characters, you want that to happen, right?
Yeah.
You want that response.
Yeah. But I genuinely don't think that Tekken can take a piece of that pie in comparison to Mortal Kombat.
It almost feels a little bit like people are coming up with these ideas by committee. It's like, okay, this company is doing this, and they're doing very well from it. What can we do? Oh, we got the license from AMC for The Walking Dead. We get Negan.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Like, of course, the ones that are definitely probably that are actually doing it the best. It's funny that I didn't actually mention this straight off the bat. The one that does do it the best, Smash Brothers.
yeah.
Because Smash Brothers is like, it's a celebration of games. Well, and Mortal Kombat is the same, because I feel like it's a sort of like a celebration of horror. It's a celebration of like the violent, the gory.
To a point, but you have to remember Smash Bros. Started out life as, like you said, it's a collection of game characters brought together in one game, whereas Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, they have their own roster even.
But of course, Smash Brothers was just Nintendo characters.
Yeah.
When Smash Brothers then diverted off of that and were adding characters like, could you honestly, like, when it was on the Wii U, genuinely be like, oh yeah, Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII, the PlayStation 1, like, Cloud Strife, even though he is a PlayStation mascot. He is a big face of the PlayStation. And if you looked at me and said, he's going to be in Smash Brothers, I was like, you are an idiot. you are a straight-up lunatic, mate.
Well, Sony burned a lot of bridges with Nintendo with that game, so yes, that would have been a shock. But, I mean, again, I think you can be more forgiving of it in a Smash game than you can in another game.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though. I'm very, very curious to see how Mortal Kombat 11 does.
Yeah.
As I said, and I think you're right, I think it's going to do huge numbers. It's going to sell across the board, not just to fight.
It's been eagerly anticipated for a very long time, and I hope that they actually manage to continue their support this game beyond 2 years. I would very much like to see this game do a 4-year, 5-year cycle. At, like, get some miles out there, get some real legs going in terms of actual long-term getting. Because that's the thing with people trying to commit to a fighting game. I feel like professional players, apart from like the best of the best, really struggle to commit to a game that they know that it's only going to be there for like 2 years and then disappear.
Yeah.
Whilst if they can dedicate themselves to a game that's going to be there for 5 years, maybe even longer, they feel like they have the opportunity to spend all of that time grinding to actually get that reward by the end of it. So it's a big difference between the two. But it's always been commercially successful since even Mortal Kombat 9 was commercially successful, did very well numbers-wise. Mortal Kombat 10 flawed numbers in terms of fighting games.
Mortal Kombat has been back with a bang for a while.
Very good form. And like, I'm personally not a big fan of it. I don't like games that have a block button, but that's my fighting game mentality with it. You know, I play a lot of fighting games. So
you're a purist.
Not purist. I wouldn't say purist. It's just that there's obviously the way that Mortal Kombat is structured, because of the fact that it has a block button, means that the way that you're playing that game is different. It's not so much about crazy left-right mix-ups, you know, doing this like games like Marvel versus Capcom. It's nothing super crazy where you got these crazy unblockable situations. It's very methodical, very string-based, very sort of block string focused, you know, playing a lot of footsie, playing a lot of neutral kind of stuff going on. So, but yeah, it's it's a fighting game, so I'm going to buy it anyway, because I have to have all the fighting games.
That's what you
do. My PS4's plugged in. You can see how many fighting games I have.
You've got all the fighting games.
All the fighting games.
You are well represented.
Yeah, but awesome.
So other news that I found very interesting this week is that EA, of course, have abandoned plans to develop their Star Wars open world game that their Vancouver office, I believe, was developing.
Now, this was an article that was published by Kotaku.
Yes, I believe so.
And of course, it's been updated over yesterday and today. So, it was initially the open world game done by Visceral Games.
That's right.
And Visceral were the guys behind
Dead
Space franchise, and of course, we all know how that turned out. In what year was it? 2013, I believe it was. Of course, now being Vancouver is EA Vancouver, right. And of course they've been working in development on that. Of course, I
mean, admittedly, they were never that far into development.
No,
but nonetheless, it just goes to show that. I mean, EA have had the Star Wars license for about 6-7 years now.
Yeah, I would say 5 or 6, and to be honest, it's surprising they've managed to hold on to it for that long.
I know Disney were not happy with the Battlefront 2 palaver that happened in terms of
why are parents saying that our children are gambling?
Because they kind of are.
Because they kind of are. Are they? I think, yeah, they kind of are.
I think the startling thing for me is when you look at the number of games that Lucas released under their gaming banner over a 10-year period, there was a lot of titles. I mean, I'm not saying they were all good titles, but they were getting them out there.
Yeah. They were using the license to the best of their ability.
It felt like they were servicing the fans of that particular franchise, whereas EA, you know, you've got Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2, and that's in 6-7 years, and I don't think anyone... They're polished games. No one can say they aren't.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure they're the games that people were necessarily after. There's a caveat every time you talk about a Battlefront game.
See, to me, I think it would have been fine if it was, like, instead of having Battlefield 2, actually just having... It's the same thing as what you have with games like Mario Kart and Smash Brothers. You have the one game for the one platform. So you have and then you can actually have your games as a service sort of thing that EA loves to have.
They do love games as a
service. To have
their
live service games. But then, of course, actually use the license for loads of other things. You've already made a first-person shooter. You don't need to make another one. Why don't you make... Like, one of the best examples of use of an IP, I feel, in recent years is The Witcher.
Okay.
Because The Witcher does have its original RPG series, but then it also has like its spin-offs, like it has Gwent, the card game.
Yeah, that's true.
And like Star Wars does have a card game, but guess what? It's kind of
I mean, but yeah, no one's talking about the AAA developed car game. They're looking for that big title that's going to be released.
But then they want to have like their RPGs, their sort of big space sims, their MMOs and stuff like they had the Star Wars MMO, and that really kind of flopped. They could have had another opportunity at that. They could have tried to. They could have. I bet EA could have, but they refused to do so. They could have actually redone one of the older games in their engines.
I imagine so, and I think people would have probably been okay with that.
Yeah, I would have loved to be able to play Star Wars Bounty Hunter in updated graphics.
Yeah,
Star Wars Bounty Hunter, Jedi, Starfighter, and TIE Fighter are sick games, and I would love to see them in that engine that they use, in the Frostbite engine. I would love to see that. But
instead, 2 Battlefront games and a new cancel project. Now, admittedly, we do have another project that's being handled by Respawn, the guys behind Titanfall, which is apparently coming out tail end of the year.
Jedi Fallen Order?
Yeah. I don't see that coming out this year, I'll be honest.
No,
I think that's a 2020 title at best.
And I'm super... Like, did you ever play Titanfall?
Yeah, played Titanfall 1 and 2.
I played 1 and 2 as well, and those are one of my favourite FPSs.
That is a talented team.
They are
of developers.
really good. So I have all the faith in them that they'll do a good job in actually having the sort of visual design, storytelling as well. Like Titanfall 2 had a really good campaign.
It's one of the best campaigns.
One of the best
FPS campaigns of the last few years, definitely.
So yeah, good campaign, good art design, but also like the feel of like they managed to have the feel of a pilot and the feel of being in a mecha. Them two contrasting feelings,
completely.
they nailed
the
them
gunplay
down.
was nailed.
The sort of movement that you'll be if you're controlling a Jedi, or depending on what weapon using, I think they'll have that feel down to the T.
I have no doubts that Respawn aren't going to make a great game. I think they are going to make a superb Star Wars game. My worry is that EA are going to meddle, and as we've seen,
ripe for monetization.
Exactly, and that's a good jump-off point for our next news article, which is the divorce of Activision and Bungie with regards to the Destiny series. And, you know, I think it's about damn time, if I'm being honest.
Well, they did sign a 10-year contract, and they got to 8 years, which is fine.
It's worth bearing that in mind.
So, of course, the title pretty much says it all. Bungie and Activision have gone their separate ways. The interesting part, though, is that Bungie have learned their lesson from their time with Microsoft, and they've actually managed to walk away still retaining the Destiny IP.
Yeah.
So they still hold the rights for it, and they will be continuing on self-publishing with Destiny 2. So the only thing that's happening at the moment is they're very swiftly trying to write up basically what the handover period will be.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
like the transferring period to make it as smooth and easy as possible.
I think the worrying thing for me is, yes, they've retained the Destiny IP rights, but I think as far as Destiny 2 goes, there's still a little bit of murky water with that.
Yeah.
And so, good news for Bungie. I think good news for fans of Destiny, bad news for people that are invested in Destiny 2. I think there's going to be a little bit of an issue with regards to, like you said,
pretty much that
handover period. I think Destiny 2 might be done. There might be a little bit, maybe, of DLC going forward, but I'd be surprised personally from that standpoint.
But
it's interesting to see what's going to happen. I mean,
yeah, definitely, for sure.
If reports are to be believed,
because then we'll be able to see, depending on what happens with whatever Bungie has planned up next, perhaps they may just do a smaller game just in the meantime. But it will really depend on what comes out next for Bungie in terms of Destiny or whatever game they decide to release, to see if it's actually Bungie that's the problem and not Activision.
Well, if reports are to be believed, Bungie employees were opening champagne
bottles,
when it was announced, and I think that speaks volumes about the relationship that they had with Activision and the kind of the notifications they were getting from the higher ups that were basically saying, "This is what we want in the game, so make it happen.
Do it. More monetization."
Exactly. And you play Destiny 2, it is a game that feels like they were like, how can we monetize this? You know, how can we shove this down players' throats? The Forge was a horrible addition to that game. It just felt...
what were they called? The loot boxes that they had in the Eververse store. That was it, the Eververse store. Yeah. But the problem was, is like, it wasn't a bad game. Destiny 2 was a bad. That's
No,
the thing.
it was polished
It was
again.
just very lackluster in terms of its content and also in comparison to the stuff that we've seen them do in the past.
Yeah, it is true. It felt
So
very Route 1 as far as I was concerned. Again, felt polished, and it felt good to be in that universe. It's just that the universe wasn't all that interesting as far as I was concerned.
yeah,
And there was a lot of home comforts that didn't really make you feel like you were playing a game that was built with gamers in mind. It felt like it was trying to extort them, and that obviously annoyed a lot of people, including myself. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where Bungie go from here.
Activision ended up losing, I think it was a drop in 12% in their stocks,
Yeah,
which is massive.
it's huge. When you're talking about the amount of money involved in these companies, it's massive.
So they're going to have to find a way to try and recoup all of that. What else is Activision publishing at the moment? They don't have much, do they? They have Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, and I can't think of any other game.
I think
Oh,
they're
no,
going to be okay.
Sekiro. They do have Sekiro.
yeah,
they
they
are
do.
publishing that, but that is not a big monetization style type of game. That is very
It's not
much
at
a single player experience.
It's the kind of game that I think that gaming trends are moving towards. Look at the success of God of War last year.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, hopefully, I genuinely hope that Sekiro is massively successful because it proves that gamers want that single-player experience.
And also the guys from Software said that this is... they pretty much said this next to nearly every time, but Sekiro is going to be the most open in terms of its level structure, like its hub world, stuff like that as well. And of course, when I heard this, I kind of was in a discussion with a bunch of people about sort of like the structure of Demon Souls and Dark Souls as a series. Like, Demon Souls is very linear. It's a very level structured base, so it's kind of hard to really talk about that one. How was it that my friend put it? So, Dark Souls 1 is kind of sort of like several circular wheels almost connecting into each other, almost like a spirograph.
Okay, yeah, I'd agree with that.
Dark Souls 2 is more sort of like branching trees. So you sort of have this one linear path, but then they split off, but you can't really jump. There's not really much jumping in between branches.
No, it's a more linear experience in Dark Souls 1, certainly.
Bloodborne is just a line. It is!
Yep.
Bloodborne is a line. And Dark Souls 3 is sort of like spogs on a wheel. Like you have a wheel with pretty much forks in the wheel as well.
Yeah, I get that.
But it will be interesting to see what Sekiro will turn up like as well in terms of its level design. Because Sekiro does, of course, that comes immediately with like things like the grappling hook. There's a lot more versatility. There's a lot more function in terms of maneuvering around the environment and stuff like that. So Sekiro is also a game that I'm super looking forward to as well.
It might be my most anticipated game of the year.
I love crazy samurai stuff. Like, in fact, it's actually kind of funny. There's a new show that I've been watching this week called Dororo.
Okay.
Which is by the same creator of...
What was that called again?
Dororo.
There you go.
It's on Amazon Prime Video. It's by the same creator of the manga series of Astro Boy.
Okay.
And it is sort of like very Sekiro-esque, where it's like prosthetic limbs with like samurai swords like hiding in prosthetic limbs. I've been watching that. I'm just like, man, I can't wait to play Sekiro. I can't wait to play that game. But yeah.
We're looking at a March release for Sekiro, right?
March, yes.
Yeah.
Sekiro. Other bits of news that we have. Randy.
Oh, Randy's been a bad boy.
Randy, stop. Please. Okay.
He's been a naughty boy.
I want to preface this that this is allegedly. This is allegedly accused of this stuff, yeah? Okay, so apparently, upon attending a medieval fair, what is it? A Renaissance fair.
A Renaissance fair, indeed.
There was a USB found by someone belonging to one Randy Pitchford from Gearbox.
Which, let me just, how does someone, like, you hear stories like this time and time again, but how does someone lose a USB with such incriminating, important information on it? I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, like, containing important work documents that you don't want people to see, talking about game projects that aren't announced that you should not be talking about. But yeah, of course, this also comes with alleged allegations against him from taking money from his own company probably stealing money from his own company.
Because those that don't know, Randy Pitchford is the CEO of Gearbox Game, most famous for the Borderlands series.
Borderlands series. Now, the interesting part is that he has in the past been allegedly accused from stealing from Sega. He apparently took the money that was provided to him by Sega for Aliens Colonial Marines, which he then invested into other projects which weren't Sega related.
It's true.
Which
there's smoke in this fire.
Didn't really do very well for Randy at all. Like I said, these are all alleged. We can never really prove these. But of course, the other thing that was accused of him with this USB that was found was some very incriminating. Well, I say incriminating. Some it's like barely legal pornography.
That is the terminology we're being fed. Barely legal. So it's legal, but it's barely legal.
Barely legal. So it's like it's not. They're
so
not
make of that what you will. Make of that what you will.
But yeah, that's not the main thing that he's been accused of. That's almost. It's just a little bit of spice. Just a little bit of spice. Like ooh,
it's a little season on an already spicy meal.
But yeah, Randy. Oh my days, Randy. I'm
curious to see how this one pans out. The barely legal porn is what it is. It's not great. Like
there was a porn subreddit for Battleborn, though.
All right.
Yeah, there was.
Battleborn. If anyone remembers what that was.
If everybody remembers what Battleborn was, yeah, there was a porn subreddit for it. I did not recommend you do that.
People logging on to Reddit even as we speak.
Even now. But yeah.
It's the $12 million that he's kind of received as a one-off special payment. Is that how they're dressing it up?
Possibly.
It's a little shady, and Randy.
But good thing somebody's calling him out on it, because these kind of it would be a shame if. Well, it's kind of hard to say because, it's only alleged. We'll never know. And to be honest, it must suck if you are in that position and you're like, I've never. These allegations are completely false.
True.
But we'll never know. But
innocent until proven guilty.
It is something that he has been accused of before, so it's kind of hard to say. It's kind of where do you go?
I'll tell you where we go from here. I reckon it's time to move on from the news and maybe show some of the Resident Evil 2 demo that we've been talking so much about. Ben, I reckon we treat the good viewers of the Arcade Club Facebook channel and those watching on YouTube, by the way. Arcade Club on YouTube, please subscribe. We could do some more subscribers. Let's play some Resident Evil 2.
Okay, so I'm going to be pretty much taking the reins on this now.
I'll do the play-by-play.
I'll do the play-by-play. All we're going to do is I'm going to make sure I actually have this on the HDMI feed.
Okay.
So I actually don't have any lag going on. Okay, so pop quiz starts now.
Oh, is this for me? So
yeah, this is for you.
There's 2 games going on right now.
Do you know what this skyline is, where this is from?
I mean, one would assume it was Raccoon City, but at the same time, it looks too developed to be Raccoon City.
But this is actually a real-world location.
Oh, okay. Chicago?
Nope.
Go on, tell me.
This skyline is taken from Mont Royal in Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
All right, is there any particular reason for that?
Mont Royal is very well known for its high abundance of
zombies.
Raccoons.
Oh, okay, that's nice. I like that.
Of course, which Raccoon City?
Nice Capcom.
So
I like
there you go. Very clever. Yeah. So let's get with that.
I hope you're going to get better than that.
But no, I thought that was really cool.
No,
I thought that
a nice
was
touch.
really cool. Okay, so of course, this is just a little quick intro into what's happened
short break for
so far.
Kennedy. Just one last pit stop at a gas station on the outskirts of town. It's hurt my voice talking like that.
You're going to need to have more water if you're going to intend on keep doing that.
We know the story, and those of you that don't, Leon Kennedy is the quintessential rookie cop coming into town.
First day on the job.
After the fit has already hit the shan.
Yep.
And, of course, as we find out, if you played the original game, you kind of get this intro. This is the demo, so you're just getting a little text to set you up.
And without further ado, let's begin.
Let's do it.
Okay, so straight off the bat, we start off within the police city department.
Are we going to show the secrets?
Secrets. Now, the first secret, straight off the bat, we can actually
go outside.
Go through this door right here after I do all the tutorial stuff of looking around and blah, 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 blah.
So, of course, when I played this, I charged straight into the police station.
Is anybody here?
Not realizing you could go outside. And, of course, as you go into this game a little bit more, later that will be barricaded, right?
Yes. When you initially return from the wing, from the east wing,
exactly.
This will be barricaded up. So there's not really much here. The only thing that you get to see is Leon with the nice lighting with the wet hair.
And it looks good.
It looks good.
The first thing you have to say is it looks good. The zombies look pretty good. A little bit of
clipping, but hey,
clip in there.
But yeah, you can actually go outside, and the water textures, like the rain textures and stuff like that, and the lighting looks really, really nice. Like, look at his wet face.
Ooh, look at his wet face. It's
such a pretty boy.
Very atmospheric, and it looks like a younger Leon. Especially a lot of people that might have jumped onto the series with
Resi
the 4th entry,
Resi 6
will recognise that it's definitely Leon, but he is
just
a
not,
younger Leon.
Not as you know it. Now, of course, we've already started off. I've already picked up some ammo on there. Now, the first thing that you could actually interact with is you got a typewriter here, which there isn't any ink ribbons, which you normally use to save in the demo.
It's true.
But there are typewriters about, which you can use. First thing, we got this CCTV right here, and it actually plays a little cutscene, which is supposed to set you off in the right direction towards the east wing of the police station. So, of course, you see another fellow officer struggling against the undead.
Not good.
And it's good, again, it's all about creating tension. It's creating high stakes. You know there's somebody else alive, you want to go to that guy, you want to try and help him out.
Yeah.
And that's how it does what it does so well, by introducing elements like this.
But yeah, very well directed, really good voice acting as well. There's not much voice acting, but the voices that we do have in this are very well done, very well performed.
And of course Resident Evil's known for bad voice acting, so it would have been very easy to jump back on that and to have basically given a game that was faithful to the worst parts of it, whereas this time they've gone, no, we're making everything better.
Okay, so you can interact with an item box, there's nothing really to throw in. This pad is messing up a little bit, it keeps inputting directions that I don't want to input. But we're going to go into the east wing.
Anytime you see a door that says keep out plastered on it, you're going to have to go for it.
You're going to have to go for it. It's Resident Evil. You're going to have to.
But again, it's just little things like this. This, to me, gave tension. It's like, okay, you're crawling under the door. You can already see the flashlight mechanic coming in. It's darker than past Resident Evil games.
Yeah, the lighting is super well done. You can see on the left here, we have a fuse box. Pretty much exactly what you'd expect, like from Resident Evil 7. There's a fuse missing, which of course lights up this section of this side of the wing.
The classics never go out of fashion.
A lot of clicking, a lot of clacking.
The sound design is fantastic. You feel like you are about to get attacked at any minute. There's that impending danger, and that's what it does so well.
Now,
I found there was a lot of ammo in the demo. What do you think?
Yes, you can actually hit maximum capacity. The maximum that you can carry is 60.
Do you see there being this amount of ammo in the full game?
I don't think that anything that we're seeing here will actually be the way that it is in the full game. In terms of item placements, in terms of certain sequence of events and stuff like that, I think there's a lot that's not going to end up happening. Okay, so we have a corpse right here. Now, here's the interesting part that we'll see in just a moment. Where actually, of course, you could actually just shoot this guy right here, right now, but you can't actually kill him straight off the bat. In this part of the game, there are certain corpses that you can't actually kill. A lot in the older Resident Evil games, you'd simply just knife a lot of the bodies in order to sort of see if they were active or not. At this part, you can't do that. Regardless, this is a sequence that will get triggered later on, which you'll actually see in a moment, so you can't actually get rid of this, and you'll see where these bodies will actually start coming from a little bit later on.
The other thing that I loved about this is the visual storytelling. You can see this camera's pointed at the front. There's a desk. Clearly some kind of conference has gone on to address the undead outbreak. And I like that. It's visual clues to tell you what's going on in the story. You don't need to spell it out to people. You kind of get it just from exploring the game.
Now, I may need to, because there is a bit of an issue going on with this pad. I'm going to force my way through it, but yeah, we've got even more
You played
bodies.
it enough to add an extra layer of challenge with a pad that doesn't work properly.
So, again, these bodies are actually going to be coming up, and this one's going to actually move from the side. You'll see in just a sec. So, we've got a guy who's struggling, and so am I with this controller.
I'll get you out!
And we'll get him out.
Don't say I'll get you out, because you know what that means. I'm probably not going to get him out.
Give me your hand. I got you. Give me your other hand.
Oh,
And there it is.
really nice callback to Day of the Dead there. I like this. And I think that's what's important, again, enough to impress me. The Resident Evil games have never been afraid, especially the first few, to give callbacks to the films that influenced them, and that felt like a direct callback to Day of the Dead. Guy getting pulled in half by a zombie. Perfect. And it felt like it should. It felt like a throwaway. That was a big... I mean, like, it does not dial down the violence and gore.
So, yeah, we get Officer's Notebook from, I believe his name is Elliot.
Elliot, gone too soon.
And now we're going to actually start having to fight some of these guys now. And I'm going to have to control the left stick as well, so it doesn't automatically move.
Right, okay. Taking him in the head, nice. I mean, the zombies can just take quite a bit of damage, I thought.
Yeah. Here's the thing. So, yeah, you could just see the corpse was originally in the corner here. So these are actually going to get up at certain points and actually fight you. Now, here's the thing. He might not actually be dead. You can. One of the things that I noticed with the enemy behaviors in this game is that there's genuinely no way to know if any of these are dead unless you actually pop their heads. These may come back up at any point after a certain amount of time. Nobody really knows. The enemy behavior is very unique between each one. Like they almost, for the most part, all have head tracking, so they'll always look in your direction. But some of them will beeline straight towards you, some of them will move at different speeds, some of them will end up bumping into objects as they do so. So the enemy design is really, really good for the zombies in this game.
Cool. There we go.
There we go, there's another one. Now, I'm actually just going to beeline it out of this section, because I want to conserve a bit of ammo. I'll probably get grabbed. So those are the bodies from the hallway which we just came across.
Oh, and then you get grabbed.
Push them again. Oh, no, there's two of them.
Oh, you got two. This did not happen to me last time.
So depending on the amount, actually may affect you differently. Because normally if it's just one, you normally have enough strength to just push one off you. And that's fine.
The sound design again, though, I know I keep bringing it up, but it's just fantastic. It feels like impending danger is everywhere. It doesn't have the locked-off camera angles of old, but it creates tension through different means.
Watch out!
Great example of the squishiness of the game.
Yep.
You're safe. For now.
And I really think that the Lieutenant Marvin does a really good performance, voice acting-wise, for this demo.
They've really upped that. Lieutenant Marvin was a great character for Resident Evil 2.
But it was very... His introduction was very short. There wasn't really much to him. There wasn't really much that happened with him. Whilst this, it's way more fleshed out.
It's fleshed out, but without overdoing it. He feels like someone you care about, but at the same time, they don't go overboard with it. And I think...
And he's a badass.
And he's... Like, how do you introduce someone as a badass? You make him crush a zombie's head in all its visceral glory.
All the while, whilst he's bleeding out of his gut.
Yeah, well, I was supposed to start last week, and I got a call to stay away. I wish I'd come
Should
here
have
sooner.
stayed away, Leon. Should have stayed away.
Yeah, now, Leon. That's all that matters.
It's all that matters.
Okay, Lieutenant, I'm ready.
Hopefully you'll be able to find a way out of this station. That officer you met earlier, Elliot.
Yep, Elliot.
It
thought this
just,
secret passage
even in,
might be a trick.
I know it's a cutscene, but it just looks so good.
This is good news.
And of course, this is
hospital.
in-engine as well.
No, I am not the priority.
Lieutenant, I'm not just gonna leave you here.
I'm giving you an order, rookie.
And like you said,
You
the
save
voice
yourself
acting
first.
is on point.
And even the
I'd
facial
come with you,
captures
but I
really
just
well.
wanted that.
It's great.
Now, you'll need this.
I can't take him.
Stop.
Leon's got a combat knife.
And don't make my mistake. If you see one of those things, uniform or not, you do not hesitate.
Again, very subtle storytelling. The reason that he's injured is because he obviously saw
Got
one
it.
of his ex-workmates, hesitated, and because of that he's paid the price. Again, just very, very subtle storytelling that tells the story almost subliminally. You know what's happened, even though you're not actually told explicitly. I mean, you are, but at the same point, it's subtle enough that it doesn't sound jarring.
Combat knife.
Common Knife, of course, likes to progress.
staple of the series. Actually has
There's a sub-weapon.
actually has
input
durability on it as well. So it actually can break. So you actually will be using multiple knives. Okay, now this is the part where we actually get a bit more control to actually go around the police station and actually have a look at a couple of things. Now, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to actually make my way up here.
Well, this is interesting because as soon as I got the combat knife, I went straight
So,
to the mission objective.
one of the things that we received was, of course, the officer's notebook, which shows us that, of course, we've got to go to the goddess statue, put in 3 medallions in order to access the tunnel.
Secret, yeah.
That'll, of course, get us out. Now, he's also inputted these 2 things here, which are different statues. Of course, one of them depicts with a lion, and the other one of a goddess playing the harp. Now, this statue that we have right here is of that of a lion, and it has these little 3 dials on it. Now, if we look back at the notebook, we actually see that these arrows are pointing towards different things. So if we go from top to bottom, it goes crown, lion, goat. So if we go on here and put in crown, lion, goat.
Now, you be honest. You be honest with me, boy. Did you read up about this, or did you figure that one out for yourself?
I just rubbed my face against the thing and continued to do it. So yeah, you could get a medallion, which of course you would then use to put into the statue down at the bottom here. Now, again, I don't think that's how it's gonna be in the final game. I genuinely don't think.
I'd be surprised.
I genuinely think that it'll end up doing more than that.
But it's a nice touch. It's a nice touch for demo.
So yeah,
So that's secret number 2.
that's secret number 2. So now we're gonna go straight off on the actual direction that we're supposed to go, if the stick will let me. This junction box here is a reused asset from Resident Evil 7, if you remember. The first thing that you have to use it with the knife in Resident 7.
This is not how I imagined the first day.
Not how we imagined his first day.
Classic Leon. Classic Leon.
Got to pick up some more ammo right here.
And is that the first herb behind you?
Is that a herb? Oh yeah, it is. I'm actually going to save that so that I can combine it and heal
Series
myself up a
regular.
little bit.
Green herbs are back.
Okay, now, I can't actually stay still. This stick is actually super busted up on this pad. But right down at the bottom, you may not be able to see it, but in quotation marks right down at the bottom there, it says, "We do it."
Oh, and this is, of course, the catchphrase of Resi developer
announcement for when they announced the Resi 2 Remake project.
I remember, yeah.
So we do it. There's the
Again,
next bit of trivia there.
Just a nice little callback to the journey of this game.
So now, of course, we're going into the dark holes of the West Wing. And, of course, we have a little interaction here where we get super close up to the gore. This is probably the worst looking part of the demo in terms of its gore. Lift that face up. Ooh. Fuck. Nice.
Oh, Leon made a swear. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen.
Apologies. And, of course, this guy is actually a little bit of a callback to the eating pipe meme from Resi 7 demo.
Ah. I did not. I mean, I saw him hanging there and I thought that's cool, that's novel.
Yeah.
But
you never thought it was
anything more
like that. And if you bump into him,
little
bit of a spook. Little bit of a spook.
This demo is just jam-packed with Easter eggs.
So we have a clover key door right here. Well, a club door, I should say. Compensated items. Of course, in the original Resi 2, you had to collect 4 keys to get 4 items. And, of course, they were all after different types of cards. So you had heart, club, spade, diamond.
You got there.
And this stick is fighting me.
Again,
Bumped into him.
not really a jump scare as such. Just another little atmos peppering.
And we're going to go through here. Now, the first thing that we'll come across on the table here is a weapons locker key card. And this will be super important in just a second. Oh, if I actually pick it up and put it in.
Pick it up.
Now, there's bits of documents that you can read and stuff like that, but the most important thing that we're going to look at is on here. We're going to get the first floor map.
A blood-spattered map, no less.
And, of course, maps being super important in the franchise, always important to have. Now, this is locked, and we'll actually need the key to go around. Now, the only way that you could go, normally you'd think, if I can't go through this door here, and that's a dead end back there, where do I go?
I got a little stuck here, I'll be honest. I
Yeah?
backtracked right to the hallway and then realised that I obviously had come wrong and came back. Now, was that a zombie breaking into that room?
Into that room, yes. Yeah.
So nowhere is safe.
So you got to be on your toes. Now, there's nothing back here, I don't believe. And we've got this guy right here, and this all, I'll practice my pot shots.
Big old heavy set zombie. Now, if zombie lore is anything to go by, because he's a heavier dude, he should take more shots to go down. But of course, that's not anatomically correct. Fat does not equal more robust. I think you got him.
You'd be surprised. Like I say, it looked like he was dead before, but actually was still managing to get up, and I'm sure he'll start moving around in just a second. Now we're going to go across the hall.
This is new territory for me. I never made it to this point.
Yeah. This is the weapons locker room. The first thing that we can interact with is the locker number key right here. And the first thing you see is that there are 2 missing. Key number 2, key number 3. And you see on the right side there, you see all the lockers there.
Mm-hmm.
So we can only input ones that don't feature the number 2 and 3.
That's interesting.
So we can put in 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109.
Okay.
And some of them are already open, but let's just... yeah, so that one should already be closed. Let's check on this side here. See
102.
So 102 we can't do, 103 we can't do. So
is
you
that
see
another combat knife in there?
that's
Yeah,
another combat knife, and that looks like a flashbang to me. So 104 is already open. 105 is already open as well. So the only one that we can really get is 106. So if we run back here, and if the stick, gosh darn it, stick, 106.
Perfect.
And we get the little green flashing light that lights up.
And that looks like some film.
Yes, it does. And that will be super important. Well, it'll be super cool a little bit later on.
I reckon you've got another little secret up your sleeve.
So yeah, we got some roll film. We're going to be keeping hold of that. And we've also got 109, which has some pistol ammo in there as well. Now, I'm not going to bother with that because...
I don't think you need it. I think
we're not going to need it. We're going to run back here. And we have the weapons locker, which we had before, which we're going to insert the plastic card into that we picked up before. And that is going to give us the shotgun. Oh.
I like the fact they've got the shotgun in the demo.
In the demo.
Everybody loves a shotgun.
It's what you need, isn't it, really? You just need a nice bit of shotgun.
So I did not find the shotgun during my playthrough. Let me ask you a question. Does the shotty take a zombie down one shot up close?
Well, actually, be bumping into a zombie. It's funny you should say that, because there should be a guy that comes to this door in just a sec. At least there should be. Is he out there? Come on. Yep, there he is.
There he is. Oh, that is nice.
Now, that doesn't always happen. It actually does take more than one shot, depending on timing and range.
Okay.
If they start jolting towards you and you manage to get them in the head, that will pretty much manage to get a hit, for the most part.
But that was cool. I enjoyed that.
Now, here's a cool little mechanic coming up.
Oh, is this the board mechanic?
Yeah, this is the board mechanic. Now, if you remember from Resident Evil 2, you have the ability to use the shutters in order to stop them from going through the windows. This has now been replaced with wooden boards instead.
Which I like. It's simple. It adds a slightly new layer to the game without adding anything too revolutionary.
It's basically this sort of Resi style of you have to pick and choose where it is you border up. Where is it that you're going to use these boards in order to ensure that...
It's a small layer of strategy, and I like that.
Now, we've also got red herb right here, and I'm actually going to combine 2 of these
to create a super herb.
Yeah, I know. Combine. Boop, boop. I'm going to use that straight away because I did take a bit of damage. So now I'm all good.
Perfect.
Now, we also have, right here...
We've got some film. Okay.
And, of course, that has a little commemorative photo right there. I'll leave that as is. I'll nip back out. And we've also got these cabinets right here. Got some gunpowder.
So the gunpowder, the ability to make bullets is back.
Yeah. And of course, depending on what you combine it with, you can either make different types of, because this was introduced in Resident Evil 3, where you can make different grenade launcher rounds and stuff.
But Resident Evil 2 is the first one to add the additions of, you could basically pimp out your handgun, right? You could add different stocks and turn it into something a little bit cooler than just a bog standard pistol.
Now, this area, unfortunately, is not
Can't
accessible. Cool little thing I want to talk about. Who do you think is making all this mess?
Who is making all this mess?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to guess it's a liquor.
Well, I'm going to suggest...
Whoa!
Hey! Jump scare. I'm going to suggest that it was actually Tyrant from Resident Evil 3 when Jill was coming through here.
Oh.
That's what I'm going to suggest. Now, we actually have a locker here that's actually got this on it.
You don't know the code, do you, Ben? Is it Ben? Is Ben the kid? Bio? No.
Bio. And we get some more shotgun ammo.
Okay, that's cool.
I can actually... no, I've already loaded it. Get even more shotgun ammo, which is nice.
You're turning into a veritable badass. I really like the idea that is the nemesis. No, sorry, is the Tyrant from
Resi 3 running through the police station before you arrived here.
Yes. That's cool. I only say the liquor because of, is it at the end of this corridor when you get a letter from the lieutenant which basically says, oh, take him down.
Let's actually test the range on this.
Oh, what the hell?
So, like I say, he may not possibly be dead. He may get back up in just a second, but we'll leave him for now.
It doesn't sound dead.
Yeah, it doesn't sound dead at all. And he bit me. Awesome. So yeah, that just goes to show you can never be too sure.
Always double tap.
And this is a new system as well, the counter system.
So you can, the knife stays in the zombie, right?
Until you kill it, yeah. Or at least until you down it. And we can pick that back up, and we can carry on.
Perfect.
So,
nice.
So that's actually, I actually managed to demonstrate my point exactly. Even though I shot it with the shotgun and it fell straight to the ground, does not mean that it's dead. So
but you weren't that close.
Yeah.
A close range shotgun looks like it takes him down in one.
And we got another locker here. So the first one was Bio. So this one is going to be Res.
Of course.
We've actually got some mag ammo in this one.
Ah.
Now the Magnum actually isn't in the game.
But it's a little,
oh, actually,
little tease.
I completely forgot something. Let me run back and go get it. What an idiot.
You've got a full inventory, just so you know.
Yeah, well, let's solve that, shall we? We are going to fight the stick. And he's still stuck out there because he's obviously...
Oh, he's through.
But he's not gotten through the boards.
Ah,
He'll smash the window and he can actually hit you. He can grab you and have a little interactable segment there. Okay. But he won't actually get through. So, we got this little segment here. He's actually alive. I know that for a fact.
Of course he is.
If I run past him, he'll activate. So if I turn back around, there you go. Pop. He's probably still alive. And there's another one just in here. This guy right here.
I'd just take him down. Oh. Yeah, he's definitely down.
So we got this safe right here. I wonder how we unlock it. Oh.
Got all the secrets up your sleeve. You've drilled this game until there are no secrets left to be found. Says, fumbling with the safe.
And we get an iron patch.
Ah, so that whole problem of running out of space
is now no
longer a problem.
Oh, come on, stick. I know you can do it. Documents, blah, 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 blah. So we got that. And we've also got this right here.
More bullets.
More bullets. Always happy to have. We're already on 40. Now, we got this locker that says JoJo on it. This is a reference to Resident Evil 2, the original.
Okay.
Where you first came across the lieutenant. He was leaning against a locker, which said JoJo on it, which The same year that it was being developed, Resident Evil 2, that being on the PlayStation 1, is a reference to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which was being developed for the arcades and Dreamcast, which of course is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the hit anime manga series.
Nice little touch.
Yeah,
I like
so
it.
yeah, there you go. Little JoJo reference there for you anime dweebs out there. Shout out to all my anime fans out there.
Well, again, it just goes to show the care that's gone into this demo, and not just the demo, but the number of callbacks, the Easter eggs. It feels like this is a game that they've gone, yes, we know people are having us for it. And you know what? Everything you want to be in it, we're going to put that in it.
Yeah. Right, so that's pretty much all the bottom part done. So we're going to run all the way back up to the top. And we're going to have a spooky, scary encounter time.
And again, just to underline, you know, we're about, what, 60-70% through the demo now? The level of... Oh, there you go.
Who was that?
Just a little...
What on earth was that? Who are you?
A little glimpse.
And we run back here. There's a little note for us talking about to any survivors. Talking about the lickers. They're blind as bats, but they're hearing more than makes up for that. So, of course, we saw in the weapons locker before that there was actually a flashbang grenade. That, I believe, is going to be more than likely used for
taking down the lickers.
Completely removing their ability of sound. And we got some more gunpowder. I'm actually just going to combine that dead quick with the gunpowder that we originally had.
And that's how you make bullets.
We're on 53, and we get another board.
Another board.
Boop.
Is that doll anything? You go, oh, whoa. Did I know that guy was there? I think I did.
Only if you look up at him. So, yeah, keep moving around. And we have, hiding somewhere, more bullets. Yep, we're on maximum amount of ammo now. We actually have more items over here. We have another hip pouch.
So you now have a pretty reasonable amount of space in your inventory.
Yep. And we also should have, hiding somewhere around here. Where are you? Where are you? Is it in this room? I believe it's in this room. There should be a pin-up of the map for the upper floors for this part of the police department.
Oh, that's another little...
I think it might be next to the hip pouch.
Is that it?
Oh no, that's talking about the C4. It might actually be in the room next to us. So yeah, you actually see C4 here.
Oh, okay.
And you need to actually line up a fuse in it. And just behind this part here, you see there's the other medallion.
Okay, nice.
There's another medallion of the 3. So you actually need a thing to interact with there. And of course, we'll go through here. And we actually come across the police archives, where we'll then get a radio call.
Leon, it's Marvin. I need you back here ASAP.
Are you okay, Marvin?
I've got something to show you. It's important.
Copy that. I'll be right there.
Go across here.
Oh,
Spooky, scary time.
Did not get to this point.
Last shot.
So if you're going to make a headshot with the shotgun, make sure it's close, because then you'll rip them in half.
Son of a bitch.
Good shooting right there.
Yeah, awesome. So, of course, this is the archives. Of course, this was one of the major puzzles in the police department before. And, of course, you have this right here. You need the tool to actually be able to move that about. Where's the map? I believe it's hiding somewhere in here. And, of course, we've got another locked door right here. Oh, I forgot to grab the key. Basically, that door will just lead you straight back onto the second floor of the main lobby, and that'll end the demo, so we don't actually want that. Ah, here we go. So, here's the map.
That's the map right there.
That's the map right there to the police station upper floors. And right here, we got another statue.
So we do.
Now,
I'm guessing you may have figured out this one as well.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think this one actually is in its note. Ah, there it is, down at the bottom corner there.
Yeah, you can see it. It's kind of blurry, but it's definitely there.
But it looks like Scorpion in the middle, 2 sort of wave things on the right, and what's that on the left? Let's have a look anyway. Oh, demo's over.
That's
Ran out
our
of time.
30 minutes.
But pretty much all that it is that we missed out is you'd get the medallion, from there you get the C4, plant the explosive, and you go back and then you prime it and it explodes. And get the other medallion from there, go back into the main lobby. You'd then actually have a cutscene with Marvin where they'd see on the CCTV Claire in the courtyard. So that would then push you going towards the east wing of the police station, where you then continue on with the game. So didn't get to see all of it, but I managed to fit in a lot of stuff that you may have missed.
There were some good secrets that I hadn't come across. So
yeah, so
that was
I think that's more
nice.
important. I think that's cool to talk about. Yeah, so that was the Resi 2 demo. I hope you guys enjoyed that little sequence that we had right there.
I enjoyed watching you play. It was a different experience from the experience
I'm so glad I'm not having to use that pad no more.
So as we started the podcast with, the live cast, thoughts on the demo, thoughts on the game, what excited you about it, what didn't excite you about it, if anything, and do you think it's going to be a contender for potentially one of the titles of the year?
Well, I'll pretty much just, since I've been singing its praises for a lot already, I'll try and talk about some of the things that I didn't enjoy. I did have a complaint. I'm trying to remember what it was. Did have
and
a
yet
point.
it escaped
and yet
you.
It completely escaped. It couldn't have been
Well,
that.
I think that
it couldn't
in
have
and of
been that
itself-
important if I
That
were
in and
able
of
to
itself
forget it.
is a good sign. The fact that you kind of struggling to think of anything that is detrimental against the game.
I do. Well, if I was going to come up with one, it's way too easy to get ammo in that game.
But I think
But that might not be representative.
I would be surprised if that is representative of the final game.
I've heard some things. I'm not sure whether you want to know about them, but I've heard some things that might be in the full release of the game.
I've heard some things too, so you hit me with your things, and if you want, I'll hit you back with some of my things.
Apparently, in the game itself, there may be, upon completion, 2 things.
Okay.
First, there may actually be a mode which actually has the classic camera style.
Oh, okay.
There is a classic mode. And of course, people have been discussing about how they're going to implement the gunplay into it. There is a easy assist mode where you literally can just push a button and it locks onto the zombie, and if you tap up or down, it aims either up at the head, at the body, or down at the legs. So I have reason to believe that the classic mode would use that system in terms of its aiming.
Interesting.
The other thing that I have heard, which is a possibility, is that in the game itself, now there are mods for other games that have done this, but they are specifically fan-made that have been implemented into them, games like Dark Souls and other Resident Evil games.
Yeah.
But this one's actually going to be in the game itself, is a randomizer.
That's an interesting mechanic to add. I like it.
That the item placements of the game itself are in completely different locations. So places like in that demo where you'd get the shotgun, maybe something completely different.
That's
maybe
cool.
the shotgun you don't get to access until you enter the second floor east wing, etc., etc. So that being built into the game itself makes the replay value of that game go whoosh.
Wow, yeah, definitely.
Because
those are only good additions to the game.
Yeah, so those 2 things, I'm like, if those are true, oh boy, that might be a really good game. I mean, a really good game.
I think we're looking at what might be a game that enters a lot of people's best of lists come the year's end. And I know it's very, very early to be saying that, but I mean, you've seen for yourself, it plays well, it looks the part.
It sounds well,
it's a rehash of the classic, but it's in and of itself a completely new experience. So very, very excited. Hype levels.
Don't take our word for it. The demo's free. It's on every platform, even on PC.
It's available till the end of the month, so there is no excuse.
Go through the demo yourself. Try and experiment. Maybe you might find something that I might not.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I doubt it. That was pretty thorough.
It's pretty thorough. But yeah, just check it out. And if you want to see me playing more Resident Evil, let me know. I'll play Resident Evil, sure.
We can do that.
We could just do our segment of me playing Resi when the game comes out on here. I don't mind.
Speaking of new games, Resident Evil 2 being the big one on everyone's must-play list at the end of the month, we have got a ton of new stuff at Arcade Club at the minute.
Yes, actually.
Hot off the boat, straight from Japan.
And also the US as well.
And the US as well. We've got a lot coming in. We now have 3, count them 3, quick and crash machines.
Yeah, and they're all lined up as well. So
they're lined up, play with your friends, play versus.
Because we literally, like, I've seen queues of the for the toilet being less than queues that I've seen for people trying to play on that.
It's true. So there's 3 machines now. They are up and raring to go this weekend. Get yourself down. Try and set a high score. Like we said last week, new record was, what, 1.9 seconds?
Sub 2 seconds, I believe.
Sub
that's,
2
that's
seconds?
all I know.
I reckon someone in the UK can beat that. And
Yeah.
you've got 3 machines to try it on now, so no excuse.
Yeah.
There's also some new rhythm action games that have come from Japan.
So you got Project Diva.
Project Diva.
The Project Diva
Very
arcade
popular one.
board. Yeah, super popular rhythm series.
From Sega as well.
From Sega,
Great
yeah.
pedigree.
You have the, which one is it via Capcom? The Beat Saga Revolution? Beat
Yes.
Saga Revolution, I think it is?
Sunshine it's called. Beat Saga Revolution Sunshine.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I've not played it myself yet. It only came on the floor.
These are super fresh. Like, we haven't touched them yet, so that's how fresh they are.
But they look great. Touchscreen type rhythm action game. I saw our rhythm action expert Lee playing it before, and he was going all Minority Report on it. It looked fantastic.
Yeah.
And then last but not least,
We have Final Fantasy Theatre Rhythm.
which is much loved by... I had never played this game, but the people that work here that saw it come in, saw it be unveiled, they were very excited by it because, of course, it's a game that's been out already for the
It's been
DS.
on the DS and the Wii, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
This is a game that, of course, everyone knows what Final Fantasy is, and Final Fantasy is a series that's very well known for its music, has a really good music direction.
Nobuo Uematsu is a master.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it's just a really interesting pairing. We actually have a trailer, I believe. I believe this is the arcade version. So
Yeah, we've got some footage.
let's actually have a look here. So
it has music from every Final Fantasy title you can think of.
yeah, but of course the style in which you do it is quite interesting. Like from a UI perspective.
Yeah, definitely. It's breaking ground on the series that people that are fans of Final Fantasy will never likely have seen before if they've not already played it for the DS.
Yeah, the art style almost kind of is like it almost makes me think of Little Big Planet in a sort of weird way.
Yeah, I get that.
Or what is
like
that other one?
Funko figures almost.
Yeah. But yeah, you have all your favorite Final Fantasy characters. Like I can see Lightning right there. I can see Cloud
there.
Strife. I can see who's it? Is it Mia? I'm trying to see. Anyway, I can see.
There are callbacks to all the games, basically.
And of course, the same with the enemies as well. Like you just saw beat 'em off right at the beginning there. So yeah, if you're a Final Fantasy fan and you love Final Fantasy music, of course we're hearing themes from Final Fantasy VIII right now. Then yeah,
Definitely worth a look.
Definitely worth. I'm going to look at this game because I like Final Fantasy.
I think everybody likes Final Fantasy at this point.
Well,
So
you would be surprised. But yeah, regardless if you're a Final Fantasy fan or not, I mean the music's good, and I'm pretty sure the gameplay is pretty tight. So yeah, that's definitely something you want to check out as well.
But even just if you're not a Final Fantasy fan, just as a room action game in and of itself, it's supposed to be a lot of fun. Quite unique control scheme, so definitely worth checking out. As I say, that is on the floor and ready to play right now. So yeah, come down, check it out. We've got tons of games. You have no excuse.
Try and kick me off it, I dare you. But yeah, that looks super awesome. But like I said, that's not the only thing that we got here. We got a bunch of new games lined up. Like if you were looking on our Facebook page, you probably saw the posts of some of the other things that we have as well. Some of them are going over to our Leeds venue, which will be opening a little bit later on. But
Announcements impending.
While some of them are going to be staying here. Some of the ones that I saw were fancy Taito Vulix versus cabinets.
Yep.
Which, if you know what those are, that got me very excited.
They're very cool looking.
More fighting games. So yeah. But yeah, definitely check out some of those newer games that we have coming out here at Arcade Club. Yeah, super cool stuff.
Fantastic. Well, my friend, we're coming up to an hour and a half. I reckon we call it there. But thanks for joining me as always.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week.
We'll be back next week.
Ben, what are you playing this week?
What am I playing this week?
Real quick.
Can I do a shameless plug? Can I
Yeah,
plug
go for it, man. Why not? You got the mic.
I got the mic. I am going to be at Sunday Face Off this weekend up in Leeds, where they are going to be having Rival Scenes, which is their annual fighting game major, which is a team tournament format. So I'm actually going to be participating with teammates. I'm going to be playing Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Okay.
I believe that's going to be sorted out by my good friend Martin. who runs an event. He runs tournaments in Sheffield and across the UK as well for games like Super Turbo and Bird Strike, etc., etc. So I'm going to be playing Super Turbo, and I'm also going to be playing Anime Fighters because, you know,
You're an anime fighter.
But yeah, that's going to be, I believe it's SFO_TV on Twitch. Just look for Sunday Face Off in Google if you're struggling to try and find that. But yeah, I'm going to be doing that. Other than that, I'm going to be slogging away at the games that I've been talking about previously. Is there any game that's coming out this week that I'm super excited about? It's pretty much the week after things start hitting the fan, right?
This is a quiet week, and then bam,
the calm before the
it
storm.
gets real.
Before my life literally gets taken away from me. It's just like, just have it. I don't need it no more. I've got Resident Evil. Whatever.
Your life becomes Capcom games.
It becomes
and
moot.
this livecast.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you so much for joining in. I've been Dan.
I've been Ben.
And we'll see you all next week.
See you next time.